Hey there, Connection kids, and welcome back for Lesson 3 of our series, Dreamer. In this series, we've been going through the life of Joseph. Let me recap all that has happened to Joseph so far. Joseph lived in the land of Canaan, and he had 10 brothers, but Joseph's dad liked him best. Now, he started having crazy dreams that made it look like he would rule over his brothers one day, and that made them very angry. They threw him in a pit, and then they took him back out, only to sell him into slavery. Joseph was taken to Egypt as a slave. He lived a rough life in slavery, but he worked really hard every day. Things were starting to look up, but then his master's wife lied about him and got him thrown into prison. All of these situations were terrible, but God was with Joseph everywhere he went, and God still had a plan for him. From the story so far, we've learned two truths that apply to us today. The first is that God always has a plan for me, and his plan is for me to follow Jesus. Number two, God is always with me. Today's truth that we're going to learn about is, I help others because God helped me. Do you think things will start to get better for Joseph this week? Let's watch and see what's next in Joseph's story.
It's time for a Bible story.
The Story of Joseph, Part 3.
Do you need another refresher to get you caught up to speed on what happened last time?
Nah, man, I got this. Check it out. I'm gonna do a rapid-fire recap. Ready, go. Joseph had 11 brothers, and they were jerks. And then he had some dreams where everything was bowing down to him, and his brothers threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery, and then he worked for Potiphar, and then Potiphar's wife was a big jerkface and lied about him and threw him into jail. Boom.
Wow, that was actually pretty impressive. And yes, that's exactly where our story picks up. Joseph was wrongfully accused and thrown into jail, but it wasn't just a regular jail. This was a prison where all of the king's prisoners were sent, so it was extra secure. There is no way anyone was getting out of this place.
Yeesh. So I guess that's about it for old Joseph, huh? Well, it was fun while it lasted. The end.
No way, man. This is totally not the end of the story. Even though it looked like his situation was getting worse, the Lord gave Joseph great favor with everyone around him. The guards liked Joseph so much that they let him help out around the prison. They didn't even lock him up.
Whoa, that's crazy. So that's what you mean when you were saying that through this whole deal, the Lord was with him?
You bet. Because Joseph had a great attitude, was respectful, and cared about other people, his time spent in prison wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. In fact, Joseph was so good at noticing people around him and going out of his way to care about them that one day, something happened that would change his life big time.
Oh yeah, you said last time there was this big thing coming up. Is this it?
Yep.
And you're not gonna get me with another to be continued, are you?
Well, I'll let you know next time. To be continued.
Ah, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I was just joking. We're not done yet.
Whew, thank goodness. Really got me good there. So what happened?
Since this prison was where all of the king's prisoners were sent, there were two men that used to work directly for the Pharaoh. One was a baker, the other was a cupbearer.
Wait, a cupbearer? His job was to put bears in cups? That sounds hard. You gotta either have some big old cups or some tiny bears.
No, he wasn't a bear cupper, he was a cup bearer. That meant that he would serve drinks to the Pharaoh in a cup.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. So these guys were in jail, huh?
Yep. Since Joseph was in charge of the prison, the guards assigned these two guys to him. Then, one night, both the baker and the cupbearer each had some pretty strange dreams.
Oh boy, here we go again with the dreams. Oh, speaking of dreams, last night I had this crazy dream where my ears turned into chili dogs.
No! I don't want to hear any more about your crazy dreams. We're talking about their dreams. The next day, Joseph could tell that something was bothering them. Both the cupbearer and the baker looked like they didn't sleep very well and were all stressed out.
Well, I mean, they are in prison, not exactly a stress-free environment.
Yeah, but this was different. Joseph was very good at noticing people around him and caring about them. So he asked them what was bothering them. They told him that they had some very strange dreams, but didn't know what they meant.
I know what my dream meant, that I shouldn't eat chili cheese dogs right before I go to sleep.
Well, that's true. But when Joseph heard that they were troubled by their dreams, he thought of something. Back home, God helped Joseph understand what his dreams meant, so he offered to help interpret the dreams of the baker and the cupbearer.
Hey, look at that! Joseph's in jail. These guys go there too. Joseph can interpret dreams. These guys have dreams that need to be interpreted. You weren't kidding about God having a plan for Joseph's life, huh?
Exactly. The cupbearer and the baker both told Joseph what their dreams were, and God revealed to Joseph what those dreams meant. The cupbearer's dream was about a vine and 3 branches that sprouted grapes, and he squeezed those grapes into the Pharaoh's cup. Joseph told him what that meant, that in 3 days he would be released and would go back to his job serving drinks to the Pharaoh.
Good for him. That's awesome. So what about the baker's dream?
In the baker's dream, there were 3 baskets of bread sitting on top of his head. A bunch of birds flew up and started eating out of one of them. Unfortunately, Joseph told him that this meant that in 3 days, the Pharaoh would have him killed.
Yikes. Classic case of the old good news, bad news, huh? Did those things come true?
They sure did. 3 days later, the cupbearer was restored back to his job, and the baker was, well, let's just say he sleeps with the fishes.
What? Gross. Why would you sleep in a pile of fish? Ugh, that would smell terrible.
No, he took a dirt nap.
Wait, now he's sleeping in the dirt? I mean, that's better than a pile of fish, but still, just sleep in a bed, dude.
No, he died.
Oh, gotcha. Took a double dip out of the old cosmic cookie jar, huh?
Yeah, that's not a phrase. Never mind.
So what happened next? Those guys just left and Joseph stayed in jail?
Not exactly. Before the cupbearer left, Joseph asked him to tell the Pharaoh about his situation, that he was wrongfully accused of something that he didn't do and thrown into jail.
Oh, awesome. This is his chance to get set free. Did the cupbearer remember to tell the Pharaoh about him?
No, he forgot.
What? You gotta be joking me. So Joseph just stays in prison? Bummer.
He did for a while, but not forever. 2 years after the cupbearer was released, something happened with Pharaoh. He had some strange dreams and didn't know what they meant. It really bothered him.
Hey, this sounds familiar. Someone had a strange dream that needs to be interpreted. Who you gonna call? Dream Buster!
The Pharaoh got all of his wise men, sages, and the magicians together and told them to interpret the dream, but none of them knew what it meant. Then, all of a sudden, the cupbearer remembered that Joseph can interpret dreams.
Yes, it's about time you remember about him. Tell the Pharaoh. Tell the Pharaoh!
That's exactly what he did. Pharaoh called for Joseph to be brought before him and explained what the dreams were. In one dream, there were 7 fat, healthy cows standing by the Nile River. Then 7 skinny, ugly cows came out of the river and ate up the fat cows.
Hold on. Why are you giving me all the grief for my dreams? That was the weirdest dream I've ever heard.
The Pharaoh also dreamed that there was a stalk of wheat with 7 healthy heads of grain. Then 7 other heads of grain sprouted that were thin and sun-scorched, and they swallowed up the healthy grains.
Whoa, talk about weird dreams. Joseph's really got his work cut out for him, huh? What in the world did those mean?
God revealed to Joseph what the dreams meant, and he told Pharaoh everything. He said that there would be 7 years of plenty in the land of Egypt, with more than enough food for everyone. But after that, there would be 7 years of famine where there would be nothing to eat.
Whoa, that's pretty serious. So, what did Pharaoh do?
He was so relieved to know what the dreams meant. He was also so glad to know that the famine was coming in 7 years, so everyone could start preparing and storing up food.
Awesome! But wait, what happened to Joseph? Please don't tell me he goes back to jail. If he goes back to jail, I'm just gonna start swinging.
No, he didn't go back to jail. The Pharaoh was so impressed with Joseph that he gave him a job. Pharaoh made Joseph second in command over all of Egypt.
What? Seriously? The big number 2? Second in command? That is awesome!
Yeah, man. The only person in the entire country with more power than Joseph was Pharaoh himself.
Man, that is pretty incredible. You were totally right about God having big plans for Joseph's life. Doesn't get much bigger than that.
No kidding. Joseph's life was totally changed. And it probably wouldn't have happened like that if he didn't notice the people around him back when he was in jail. And something else was about to happen that nobody expected.
Nice try. I see you coming a mile away. You're about to do another to be continued, aren't you?
I sure am. Bam!
Yep, I called it. Totally called it.
Have you ever made a mess before? Maybe you were pouring milk into a cereal bowl and spilt it all over the kitchen counter. Or maybe you were at a restaurant and you knocked your drink all over the table. I think everyone has made a mess before. Some messes are more of a big deal than other messes, like spilling water on the kitchen floor is not as big of a mess as paint on a sofa. But messes don't just happen at home or at a restaurant, do they? Life can kind of feel messy. Like maybe things aren't going the way we thought they should, or maybe we're making decisions we know we shouldn't. Some of us have life that's going pretty good the way we want to, but others, they have a big sofa paint disaster.
Now, Joseph's life looks like one disastrous mess. We could imagine seeing Joseph in that prison cell, keeping to himself and feeling sorry for himself and sulking, but that's not what he did. He wasn't so fixed on his own mess that he couldn't see how other people were doing. He noticed something was wrong with the king's servants, and he asked them what was wrong to see if he could help. He heard their troubling dream, and he told them what it meant. He noticed, and he helped.
This sounds a lot like what Jesus said in John 13:35. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Joseph showed those prisoners love by getting into their mess to help. But this verse wasn't written to Joseph. This verse is for us today, for those that follow Jesus. Our main point for today is, I help others because Jesus helped me. Have you ever known someone with a messy life? Maybe they have a hard time making friends or have some fighting going on in their house. Maybe they have trouble at school or even fighting a sickness. If this was you, wouldn't you want someone to help you with your mess? We all want someone to help us with our mess, but sometimes it's hard to go out and help them with theirs. Why do you think that is? Well, we tend to make excuses, like, my life is going good right now and I don't want to get it messy. Or, my life is a crazy mess and I've got to deal with that first. Or, I'm just too busy and too tired to help. But remember what it says in John 13:35. Jesus tells us the way to show others that we follow him is by how we love one another. And that means getting into their mess to help.
If we truly follow Jesus, how could we not help others when their life is messy? If we follow the one who died to take away our ultimate mess of sin, all by himself, how could we not, in some much smaller way, help the other people Jesus died for? Our challenge today is to start looking up from our own mess and to notice what's going on in other people's lives. We need to help other people because Jesus helped us. If you notice them, God might just prompt you to ask them what's going on. And then he might use you to help them in whatever way you can, just like he used Joseph. It all starts with noticing. Jesus noticed you needed help, and then he helped.
Thank you for watching Lesson 3 of Dreamer. We hope you are enjoying the story of the life of Joseph. We will be delivering activity packs to our church family this weekend. But if you missed any of our previous lessons, feel free to go to the Connection Kids page of the church website at www.connectcorona.com. We look forward to seeing you all real soon. Bye-bye.